Today, my fiance and I are doing some routine maintenance on our bikes, and I thought it would be an entertaining use of time to talk about my experience now, having lived for 3 years totally car-free as like a working adult. The maintenance we're doing today is like pretty straightforward. We're just cleaning our chains, and I may possibly consider changing my brakes. And to start my reflections, the first most interesting thing to me is that my father was a mechanic, and you can only expect that his sons would, of course, learn to work on cars, and I did. And I spent a lot of my teenage years working on cars, fixing them up, stuff like that. And I spent some time of my adult life working on my own cars to survive, to save money. And you would think I'm pretty partial to cars, and I am not. Anyone who's worked on cars will know that, like, doing maintenance in winter, which out that window you can barely see it, but it is snowing a lot. It's like 45 degrees in here right now. It's actually warm compared to outside. Anyone who's worked on cars, you'll know that they usually just hate working in winter. It is cold, your hands clang into things, it hurts really bad, and everything takes 2 hours longer than you expect it to. Well, today this will probably be 20 minutes. If I weren't talking to the camera, it'd probably be 7 or something. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my bike with some degreaser. And yeah, I definitely do not miss for even a second the experience of being a car mechanic. Even in the ways that you could argue it is or was fun. Everything costed more, everything took more time, everything hurt. In my experience, you're always hitting your hands into crap and it's just awful. But I mean, this is as much as it looks like. You just kind of hit this with the degreaser, and you can toothbrush it in or just run through the gears if you want. Which is why I like to flip my bike over when I do this. But talking more about just the experience of being car-free long-term, it's just insane how much money we save doing this sort of thing, and how little it's affected our quality of life. Like, I had to learn a new category of mechanics work, right? I had to learn how to do this stuff. But obviously, coming from a car mechanic, this is frankly a lot simpler. Everything about working on a bike feels simpler to me. Even an electric bike like this just is not that complicated to me. It's been 3 years now that I personally have been doing everything I can and need by taking a bike somewhere. And I mean, it's just saved me unbelievable amounts of money. It's changed my perspective and the connection I have with the community. When you see your city, from the sidewalk or from the street, and the way that you get around is something so connected, you just pay a lot more attention to what's going on in your community because you're seeing it firsthand. You're not behind a car door, and you have a more direct connection with the people that you're moving around and moving with. And personally, I would not have it any other way. It'll also be easier to do the brakes with the bike like this also. It's not bad. All right, well, it looks like we are also going to do brakes, which, again, making comparisons to when I worked on cars. Oh my God, changing brakes. I can do it quickly, but it would still be like an hour and a half every time. And I can guess that if you're like a racing cyclist or something like that, there's probably all kinds of proprietary BS going on, just like with cars. But so far, owning a few electric bikes and remembering my experiences of when I had a bike as a kid, bike parts are just really universal. Like, surprisingly universal. I wouldn't have expected it. No, it's because I was stepping on the brake. All right. That is one taken care of. Like, genuinely, and compared to when I worked on cars, this is a joke. This is like the simplest. I'm just grateful for how easy this is. I think the second one will suck more because I can't take it off. I don't want to take the rear wheel off. I'm just going to deal with it. When I started, well, the reason I started riding a bike everywhere is because we moved cross country to set up shop here in Colorado. We wanted something different for a lot of reasons. And we didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. We had just graduated college that year. You know, it was that summer that we moved out here. And if I had brought over the car I had, which was a BMW 328i, it was like a 12-year-old BMW, but it was still a BMW. It needed maintenance. Even if I had had some other car, maintenance would have cost money, insurance would have cost money, gas would have cost money, and we would have never been able to afford our first apartment out here. We would have never been able to move. So this is something we did out of necessity, but in the process we found benefits I didn't even expect. And the fact that we keep saving more and more money the longer we do it is very worthwhile to us. But no, I couldn't necessarily see with the infrastructure that we have in the U.S., I couldn't see doing this forever. But I mean, I could probably see 20 years. You know, I could have done this since I was 14 or something. I probably could have done it forever. As you can see from opening the garage, it is a literal blizzard outside. And if I was still working on a car, I could probably bring the car into the garage and do this. But in my personal subjective experience, that involves a lot of laying on the ground, getting scratched up, bashing your hands into freezing cold metal. And I'm sure if I were worse at bike mechanicking, that would also be happening. It's obvious that I'm going to do my own maintenance myself no matter what. There's no reason in my mind, if you can do something yourself, to not just save the money. Frankly, I think people who can always just afford to pay someone else to do something within their range of learning, right? Their zone of proximal development, so to speak. I've never quite understood people that can just do that. Or that don't mind just being like, I'll just pay someone to do it. And I mean, that's a bit hypocritical in that, you know, I've paid people to DoorDash us food. I've paid people to, you know, do services like that. And you know, service is a service. There's no judgment on that. Again, that just goes back to like my experiences with poverty and, you know, how I perceive the concept of wealth and elitism. Honestly, people should be able to, you know, pay someone to freaking take care of something like this for them. That should be a totally normal thing. But, you know, I'd always advocate in my classrooms, like as an engineering teacher, I'm always advocating for students to learn to fix things themselves. Just because it saves you a bunch of money and whatever time you put into it really isn't that much. I can already see the classic car guy being like, what's your problem? The work's not that hard. Stop being a baby. I want to see you go one day in the shop, a singular day in the shop. I want you to do a job, and I don't want you to cuss a single time. You're not going to do it. Don't cuss. Don't throw anything. Don't chew out some apprentice. If you can go a single day, a single job without doing any of those things, well then I'll admit defeat. If it ain't obvious, I'm recovering from some sort of winter sickness, some sort of cold. Might have been the flu, I can't really tell. I was an idiot this year, and I've been using online doctor appointments to get my medicines. And the consequence of that is I don't have a doctor always being like, hey, you want to get your, you know, this and that shot done? And I very stupidly did not get the shots I needed this year. Now I'm paying for it. Both sets of brakes replaced. And everything taken care of. That is the chain well cleaned, Those sets of brakes replaced. I don't know. That might have been like 30 minutes or something in total. But I was talking to the camera the whole time and helping my fiance. You know, if you're working independent and you have experience, you could do both those in probably 20 minutes. I will take commuting on an e-bike any day over going back to cars. I loathe the day that I have to. I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna suck. Like I'm thinking about it. Because I know there will come a time, I understand for anyone who wants to transition to this kind of life, the infrastructure is not there. You don't feel safe biking on the road. You literally just don't. And, you know, do you know if there's just as good of a network of bike mechanics out there if you're not like me? If you don't want to DIY everything, which you shouldn't have to, again. I think it's a great skill and I'd recommend it for everyone, but I don't think everyone should have to become a mechanic of everything they've ever touched. That's just ridiculous. But I would not change this for the world. The economic opportunities this is presenting to me and my family are just unbelievable. I live in a place that has bike lanes. I live in a place that, I mean, it snows, so I need this kind of bike. Yeah? But I live somewhere where this makes sense for me. I wish it made sense for everyone too, because the second you do it, you find that there's just an incredible number of benefits. Personal well-being, financial well-being. It's just so much better. But yeah, there we go. That's a whole brake change and drive chain maintenance. I guess the analog to this would be changing your brakes and replacing your oil in your car. It's about the same thing. And I don't know, I could do those things pretty quickly when I was a mechanic. I would absolutely do it on the bike every day instead. Oh my goodness. I just flip the bike over. I can physically lift the whole thing. It's really easy and straightforward in comparison. So I am happy to do this however often I have to. Very content with it. And I don't have any particularly horrible memories now of working on bikes. So there's that. Just a video of me rambling. Nothing super substantive. Have a good day.